Your mind is not yours. That's the hard truth no one ever told you. You think you're making choices, shaping your destiny, but in reality, you're trapped inside an invisible prison, a system so perfectly designed that you don't even realize you're a prisoner. In The School for Gods, Diana reveals a shocking truth. Reality is nothing but a projection of your fragmented mind. Your struggles, your limitations, your failures, they don't exist outside of you. They are the illusion, and you are the one feeding it. But here's the real question. If the prison isn't real, why can't you escape? Because the mind clings to what is familiar, even if it's suffering. It convinces you that stepping beyond the illusion is dangerous, and that's why most people stay asleep. But what if breaking free was simpler than you thought? What if the key was already in your hands, hidden in plain sight? The moment you see through the illusion, reality bends to you, not the other way around. Ready to wake up? 1. The prison of the mind. Life feels like an endless loop, doesn't it? The same problems, the same thoughts, the same struggles, all playing on repeat like a broken record. It's easy to think this is just how things are, but the truth is, the mind is the one pulling the strings. It builds a reality based on old beliefs, fears, and experiences, then locks you inside. Imagine a man staring at his reflection in a mirror, blaming the image for his misery. That's exactly what's happening. Your awareness is trapped in a world that only exists because your mind keeps projecting it. Think about it. If reality is just a mirror, then what's really holding you back? It's not your job, not your past, not even the people around you. It's the conditioned patterns running in your head. You see life through the filter of your mind, and that filter is loaded with limitations. A person who believes they're unlucky will keep finding proof that life is unfair. Someone convinced they'll never succeed will sabotage themselves at every turn. The prison isn't made of bricks. It's built from thoughts, and most people don't even realize they're locked inside. Breaking free starts with one thing: awareness. The moment you see the pattern, you create a crack in the illusion. Just observe. Catch yourself when you're running an old script. That frustration at work, that irritation in traffic, that fear of failure, it's all part of the same conditioning. Ask yourself, is this really me, or is this just a reaction I've been programmed to have? Every time you stop and question, you weaken the walls of the mental prison. And the more you do it, the more you start to see that the mind has been playing a game with you all along. But here's the kicker: the mind doesn't like being exposed. The moment you start to wake up, it fights back. It throws doubt, fear, distractions, anything to keep you trapped in the same cycle. That's why most people never escape. They get close, they sense the truth, and then they retreat because the illusion feels safer. But once you see how deep the conditioning goes, you can't unsee it. And that's where things start to get interesting. 2. The illusion of free will. Most people think they're making choices, but are they? Stop for a second and try not to think about anything. Can you do it? Probably not. Thoughts keep rolling in, uninvited, like an endless stream. That's because the mind is running a program, one that was installed long before you even knew it existed. Your beliefs, reactions, and desires are not truly yours. They were shaped by years of conditioning. From the way you react to stress to the goals you chase, everything is influenced by past programming. And yet, you walk around believing you're in control. Let's put this to the test. Why do you want what you want? If you dream of success, is it because you truly desire it, or because society told you that success equals happiness? If you fear failure, is it your fear, or one you picked up from your parents, teachers, or experiences? Most people never question where their thoughts come from. They assume that because a thought appears in their mind, it must be theirs. But reality doesn't work that way. The mind is like a machine. It produces thoughts, but that doesn't mean you have to obey them. Real freedom begins the moment you stop identifying with every thought that pops up. Instead of reacting, observe. Watch how your mind tries to push you in certain directions. Pay attention to how emotions surge when you're triggered. The more you observe, the more you realize that the real you is not the thinker, but the one watching the thoughts. This is where power lies. Not in trying to control the mind, but in detaching from it. It's like stepping out of a storm instead of trying to stop the rain. The storm is still there, but it no longer controls you. But here's where it gets tricky. Just when you think you're breaking free, the mind pulls you back in. It whispers, "This is nonsense. You're overthinking. Just go back to normal." And most people do. They go back to their routines, back to their distractions, back to sleep. But if you can resist the pull, if you can stay with the discomfort of seeing through the illusion, something incredible happens. You begin to see the maze for what it is. And once you see the maze, you can finally start looking for the way out. 3. Your mind is a maze. Imagine waking up in a giant labyrinth with no memory of how you got there. Every turn looks familiar. Every path seems to loop back to where you started. That's exactly how the mind operates. It keeps you running in circles, making you believe you're moving forward when, in reality, you're just chasing your own tail. Every fear, every craving, every problem keeps you distracted, ensuring you never stop long enough to ask the real question. Who put me in this maze? And more importantly, how do I get out? Think about the last time you tried to change your life. Maybe you wanted to break a habit, start a business, or shift your mindset. What happened? Chances are distractions appeared out of nowhere. You got busy, doubts crept in, or life suddenly felt overwhelming. That wasn't random. It was the maze doing its job. The mind doesn't want you to escape. It wants you to stay occupied, convinced that the next turn will finally lead to freedom. But freedom doesn't come from running faster, it comes from stopping. Instead of endlessly chasing the next solution, try something radical. Observe. When anxiety strikes, don't fight it, watch it. When you feel stuck, don't push, pause. The moment you stop reacting, you break the cycle. The maze isn't outside you, it's inside, built by unconscious patterns that thrive on your participation. The less you engage, the weaker it becomes. It's like a dream. When you realize you're dreaming, the nightmare loses its grip. That's the power of awareness. But awareness alone isn't enough. The mind is clever. It will adapt, throwing new distractions, new fears, new illusions. It will make you question everything, even the progress you've made. And this is where most people get lost again. They see the trick for a moment, then fall back asleep, believing the maze is real. But what if, instead of fighting the illusion, you started seeing it for what it is? What if you realized that the only reason the maze exists is because you keep running? 4. The ego's defense mechanism. The moment you start questioning reality, something strange happens. Your mind resists. Suddenly you feel doubt creeping in. Thoughts like, "This is pointless," or "I already know this," start flooding in. This isn't by accident. The ego is like a security system programmed to keep things exactly as they are. It survives by keeping you locked in old patterns, convincing you that stepping beyond them is dangerous. Every time you try to break free, it fights back, not with force, but with subtle whispers designed to pull you back into the illusion. Think of the last time you tried to change something big in your life. Maybe you wanted to stop procrastinating, improve your health, or shift your mindset. At first you felt inspired, but then resistance showed up. Suddenly you found reasons to delay, excuses felt more convincing, and distractions became irresistible. That wasn't a coincidence, that was the ego defending its territory. Diana describes the ego as a tyrant that rules through self-sabotage. It knows exactly how to make you doubt yourself because it's been studying you your entire life. So how do you deal with it? First, recognize that resistance isn't a stop sign, it's a test. The mind creates barriers, but they're illusions, like walls in a dream. When you push forward despite the fear, the walls crumble. Next time doubt creeps in, don't argue with it. Observe it. When fear tells you to turn back, lean into it instead. Action is the ego's worst nightmare, because the moment you move forward despite resistance, you prove to yourself that the illusion has no real power. But here's the catch. The ego never gives up. It adapts, shifting its tactics, creating new reasons to keep you small. And this is where most people fall back asleep. They break through one layer, only to get trapped in another. The cycle repeats over and over, until one day they finally ask the real question. If my mind is working so hard to keep me trapped, what exactly is it so afraid of me discovering? 5. The fear of letting go. Even when you start seeing through the illusion, something holds you back. Fear. It's subtle, but it's there, whispering, if you let go of this, who will you be? The mind has spent years constructing your identity, attaching you to beliefs, struggles, and stories that define you. Without them, you feel exposed, uncertain, almost naked. That's why most people, even after glimpsing the truth, retreat back into their old ways. The illusion might be limiting, but at least it's familiar, and the mind clings to what it knows. Look at any major life change, leaving a toxic relationship, quitting a soul-draining job, or even challenging a long-held belief. Logically, you know what's right, but emotionally, it feels like stepping off a cliff. That's the mind at work, using fear as a leash to keep you inside the illusion. It convinces you that the unknown is dangerous, that without your struggles, you'll be lost. But in reality, the only thing you're losing is the false identity that was never really you to begin with. So how do you move past this fear? You stop believing the mind's stories. The next time fear tries to hold you back, ask yourself, what's the worst that could actually happen? 9 times out of 10, the answer is nothing real. Just discomfort, just the ego throwing a tantrum. The more you face fear instead of running from it, the weaker its grip becomes. Growth isn't about adding more to yourself, it's about stripping away everything that isn't you. And fear is always the final gatekeeper. But here's what most don't realize. The moment you finally let go, something unexpected happens. You don't fall, you don't disappear, you expand. You feel lighter, more present, more alive than ever before. And that's when you start to see the truth. Everything you thought you needed, everything you fought so hard to hold on to, was never real in the first place. 6. The present moment. The mind is a time traveler. It drags you into the past, replaying regrets and failures, then flings you into the future, fueling anxiety and desire. But here's the truth. Neither of these exist. The only real moment is now. Yet the mind does everything in its power to keep you anywhere but here. Why? Because the present moment is where the illusion breaks. It's where you stop being a puppet of your thoughts and start seeing reality for what it is. The past is a memory. The future is a projection. Only now is real. Think about it. How much of your stress comes from something happening right now? Not something you fear might happen, not something you regret, but this exact second. Almost none. Stress, worry, and suffering all come from resisting the present. You don't suffer the moment, you suffer your thoughts about it. Deanna teaches that life reflects your internal state, and when you're fully present, reality aligns effortlessly. But when your mind is lost in time, life feels like a battle. The struggle isn't out there, it's inside your awareness. So how do you escape the illusion? You bring yourself back. Every time you catch your mind drifting into the past or future, stop and return to now. Feel your breath. Listen to the sounds around you. Notice the sensations in your body. This isn't some abstract idea, it's a practical shift. Try this. The next time you feel overwhelmed, pause and ask, where am I right now? Not in your thoughts, not in your worries. Physically, where are you? This simple act breaks the trance and pulls you out of the illusion. But here's the challenge. The mind won't give up easily. It will pull you back again and again, convincing you that you need to figure things out, that the future must be controlled. And this is where most people get stuck, trapped in endless thinking. But the ones who see through it, the ones who master the present, unlock something incredible. They realize that life isn't something to fix or chase. It's something to experience fully, right here, right now. And that changes everything. 7. The awakening. At first, waking up feels like losing everything. The world you once believed in starts to crumble. The goals you chased, the struggles you held onto, even the identity you built, it all begins to fade. And that's terrifying. The mind panics, trying to hold on to what's familiar. But if you push through the fear, something incredible happens. You realize that everything you thought was real, the stress, the limitations, the endless mental chatter, was just a story. And for the first time, you see reality without the filters of the mind distorting it. It's like stepping outside after being locked in a dark room your whole life. Colors are brighter, sounds are sharper, life feels alive. But here's what most don't expect. Your desires change. Things that once consumed you, like chasing success, proving yourself, or avoiding failure, lose their grip. That doesn't mean you stop living. It means you start living differently. You don't chase things out of fear or lack. You move through life with a sense of freedom. The illusion no longer controls you. And that changes how reality responds to you. Dana calls this verticality, rising above the illusion instead of being trapped inside it. But make no mistake, the mind will try to pull you back. It will tempt you with old habits, old beliefs, and old distractions. That's why so many people wake up for a moment, then slip back into sleep. The key is to stay aware, to keep observing the tricks of the mind without getting caught in them. When you see through the game, you stop playing by its rules. And that's when you step into true power. But here's where the real journey begins. Awakening isn't the end. It's the start of something far greater. Because once you break free from the illusion, you face a new question. Now that you're no longer controlled by the mind, what will you do with your life? If you want to elevate your vibrations and manifest with more ease, I have prepared something special for you. Click the link in the first pinned comment and join us in the journey of awakening your inner mage.